As a teenager, I'm always asked these kinds of questions, like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? Or, what kind of school are you going to? What are you going to do with your life? And with 7 billion people I haven't met, and hundreds of countries I haven't been to, and the many days I have yet to experience, how do you expect me to answer those questions when I don't even know myself? When you're a kid, a fundamental question you're asked is what you want to be when you grow older. Kind of like planting a seed to grow your dreams. You acquire this free human will to be anything, do anything. You can be a ballerina, a firefighter, a doctor. I said I wanted to become a fish. I don't know why. I was just a weird kid. Mishka wawata ikwa indigenous usaksing ndonjaba and making doda. I spent my whole life on Usaksing First Nation. I grew up here. I fell in love with it, to be honest. I fell in love with sitting on the lake on a hot summer's day, blasting Bob Marley. I fell in love with running through the forest and exploring. I fell in love with my culture and the people and hearing the laughter in our language. But this place also broke my heart. I've seen my friends break each other's hearts, my family fighting. I've seen what drugs and alcohol do to people, and it was scary when I first realized that this was a reality. So I distanced myself when I really should have. Tried to help. I stopped going to powwows and dancing, which I really like to do, but I stopped, and it hurt, actually. However, I never stopped believing this place was worthwhile. I mean, you had your family and your friends and you were close, and you had this great support system, and everyone built you up and said you were going to be great. And there was always love. Despite how broken we seemed to be, we still loved. When I was 11, my uncle took his own life. I was angry and hurt, and I didn't really understand why he did it or what was going on. It was unfair. To me, you don't just get people to love you and then check out when you felt like it. At least that's how I thought back then. It's probably when I first started to lose myself. I missed him. I still miss him. But back then, I didn't really feel like it counted for anything. What's the point in loving something that can leave? So I pulled away from everyone. I wrapped myself in loneliness because I felt like that's what kept me safe. And when I was alone, all my insecurities came out. They were all I thought about, and I didn't tell anybody about this. All these thoughts, they circled around in my head 24/7, and it hurt. I really started not to like myself. I wrote and wrote, and I read and I read. I built these little worlds where I was a totally different person. Better, somehow. But I would always come back and retreat deeper into my self-hatred. At school, I was called fat and chubby and ugly and stupid. It was just basic school playground teasing. But it still really hurt. Every word lodged itself into my being, making me feel inadequate and ugly and fat and stupid. They bounced around in my head until eventually I was bruised and battered and I didn't want to fight anymore. Those nights I spent crying in bed and locked bathrooms. Those moments when I felt absolutely hopeless were the moments I could begin to understand why my uncle took his life. I was scared. but I retreated further back into my head and didn't say a word. I started to cut 2 weeks after my 13th birthday. It began as a temporary fix, one time, and I wouldn't ever do it again. At least that's what I told myself. I fell off the path and hit the ground hard. I was disoriented and confused. I really did lose myself. I stopped feeling passionate about things. I stopped writing and reading and going to ceremonies. The thing was, I didn't understand what was happening. I didn't realize I was going on a downward spiral into self-destruction. I didn't understand the reason people were calling me these things was because they were hurt themselves. They didn't see they were causing me pain. It was a vicious cycle. They didn't realize their behavior was not okay, and I was too afraid to tell them otherwise. I think that's one of my biggest regrets, not telling them they were hurting me. Maybe we could have understood each other. Maybe we wouldn't have been so alone. In grade 10, I was still ridiculously insecure. I still cut myself, and I never really told anyone because I didn't want to bother them with my problems. I felt insignificant, to be honest. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to be happy, and I wanted to be confident. And for some reason, I thought being thinner would grant me that. So I stopped eating. It was a challenge. The more I felt like I didn't eat, the more stronger I felt. It was poisonous and unhealthy, and kind of twisted. When my friends and family finally found out, it really did break them. They were really hurt. And when they found out I was still cutting, it caused them a lot of pain. And honestly, that was the hardest thing ever. Seeing that, I had selfishly caused the people who loved me a lot of hurt. And that was when I really truly decided I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't let a razor decide how I felt, or the number of calories I consumed a day determine how much self-worth I had. An old friend once told me I was my own worst enemy, and he was right. But I'm fighting back now, and sometimes I lose. But I always get back up and fight some more. To the kids who feel inadequate and stupid and ugly, and who get called these awful things every day, I want you to know you're worth it, and you're important, and it does get better. It really does. I want you to find someone you trust, who loves you, and there are people who love you, and I want you to talk to them. I want you to tell them your dreams and your hopes and your insecurities. I want you to realize these things and start healing, because the world would be a lot dimmer without you around.